It was the summer of 1950 in a quiet corner of Corning, New York. The smell of cut grass hung in the air and the crack of bats echoed through neighborhood parks. Little League baseball had just arrived, and for every boy on the block, it was the dream. But for 13-year-old Kay Johnston, it was a closed door. Girls didn't play baseball. Not officially. Not in Little League. But that didn't stop Kay from loving the game. She'd grown up tagging along with her brother to practice, studying the way he held the bat, the way he crouched at first base. In the backyard, she mimicked every move, catching balls thrown hard and low, faster than most boys her age. She wasn't just playing pretend. She was preparing. One day, watching from the bleachers yet again, she made up her mind. If they won't let a girl play, she thought, maybe they'll let a boy. So Kay went home, took a pair of scissors, and cut off her braids. She slipped into her brother's jeans and tucked her hair under a baseball cap. Her new name? Tubby. Inspired by the round-faced comic strip kid from Little Lulu, a boy no one questioned. That weekend, Tubby Johnston showed up at tryouts for the King's Dairy Little League team. She stood in line, glove under her arm, just another scrawny kid hoping for a shot. No one suspected a thing. And when the coach called her name, Tubby Johnston, she stepped up, caught every ball, and cracked line drives like she belonged there. Because she did. It was the beginning of a summer that would change more than just one season of Little League. It would change history. The locker room smelled like leather and liniment. Boys joked loudly, swapping stories about schoolyard brawls and their favorite Yankees. In the middle of the chaos, Tubby Johnston kept her head down. She couldn't afford to slip up. Every glance, every movement had to sell the illusion. Kay had practiced her swagger in the mirror. She wore her cap low, tugged it tight like the boys did. Her voice stayed quiet, her laugh shorter. She never undressed fully in the changing room, just turned to the corner, laced her cleats, and acted like she didn't have time for small talk. The 1950s didn't have locker room supervisors. Coaches were outside, busy dragging the field or chalking baselines. That left the kids to themselves, changing fast, teasing loud, rarely paying attention to one another. It worked to Kay's advantage. The noise, the mess, the sheer boyish bravado. She learned to blend in. Practice, she stood out, but for all the right reasons. Tubby was fast on her feet and solid at first base. She scooped wild throws, made smart plays, and hit like she meant business. The coach clapped her on the back, told the team, "This one's a keeper." And just like that, Kay wasn't a girl sneaking into a boy's world. She was Tubby, part of the team. But secrets are slippery things. One kid noticed she adjusted her cap a little too carefully. Another said she always avoided jumping into the rougher horseplay. A whisper here, a side glance there. The rumor mill began to churn. Still, she held her ground. The disguise was holding barely. For now, Tubby Johnston was still just a boy who could really play ball. But the summer had only just begun. And secrets don't stay secrets forever. For weeks, Tubby Johnston was just another name on the lineup card. Kay played her part with precision. Fielding grounders, keeping quiet, showing up early, staying late. Her teammates called her Tubby with affection, joking that he was better than half the boys on the field. But whispers started drifting along the dugout. One boy, Tommy, leaned in after practice and asked, "Hey Tubby, you always adjust your cap like it's a crown or something. What's up with that?" Kay shrugged it off with a laugh, but the seed had been planted. In the 1950s, kids didn't always know what to make of difference. And Kay, she was different, and sharp enough to know it was only a matter of time. The talk built quietly. Not accusations, not yet. Just glances, shrugs, rumors. Then one afternoon, the team was horsing around behind the bleachers, wrestling and cracking jokes. One of the older boys lunged toward Tubby with a shove, trying to drag him into the scuffle. Kay flinched, hard. Not because she couldn't handle it, but because she couldn't risk it. One torn shirt, one grab in the wrong place, and everything would fall apart. She backed off quickly, muttering something about a sore shoulder. Most of the boys shrugged it off, but not all of them. That night, Kay sat on the back steps of her house, glove in her lap, staring into the twilight. She knew the truth was gaining on her, faster than any fastball. She could keep lying, or she could walk away. Instead, she chose something else. The next day, With the sun hot overhead and kids already lining up for practice, she approached her coach. "Coach," she said quietly, "I need to tell you something." And just like that, the wind-up was over. The pitch was coming. The field was quiet that morning. The other boys were still tossing balls and joking near the fence when Kay pulled her coach aside. He was a stocky man with a sunburned neck, more interested in effort than names, more focused on fielding than gossip. She took a deep breath. "I'm not who you think I am," she said. "My name's not really Tubby. It's Kay Johnston. I'm a girl." The coach squinted at her, confused. "Come again." Kay pulled off her cap, letting her hair fall loose for the first time in weeks. Her voice trembled, but her stance didn't waver. "I love baseball. I just wanted to play." There was a pause. One of those moments where the world feels like it's holding its breath. Then, the coach scratched his head, spat in the dirt and said, "You're such a good player. We're going to use you at first base. That's what matters. No lecture, no outrage, just baseball." When practice started, the boys looked up and saw Tubby Kay jogging onto the field like always. There was an awkward silence at first. A few kids exchanged glances. One finally said, "Wait, you're a girl?" Kay nodded. Another boy, Tommy again, grinned. "Well, she's better than you." He shot at the kid next to him. The dugout exploded in laughter. And that was it. For a little while it was just kids playing ball again. But news like that doesn't stay on the field for long. Whispers moved from the diamond to the diner. Parents began to murmur. The bleachers grew a little fuller every game. Some clapped. Some frowned. The secret was out. Kay Johnston had pulled off the impossible. But the real storm was just starting to form beyond the fence. The next game drew a crowd. Word had spread through Corning like a lightning strike. A girl was playing Little League, and not just playing but starting. Neighbors who hadn't been to a game in years showed up with lawn chairs and cameras. Mothers leaned in, curious. Fathers crossed their arms, skeptical. And in the middle of it all, Kay Johnston jogged out to first base. Cap pulled low, glove on tight, heart pounding. The first inning was uneventful, until a pop fly headed her way. She leapt, caught it clean, and held it up like a trophy. The bleachers broke into applause. But not everyone was cheering. From the visiting team's side came the sharp yell, "Hey, that's a girl out there." Some parents groaned. Others jeered. A few kids laughed. The ump looked confused. But the game kept going. That day, Kay played harder than ever. She hit a double in the third, made a diving stop in the fifth, stole a base just to prove she could. Some teammates rallied around her, grinning, fist-bumping, treating her like she was just one of the guys. Others kept a little distance. It was the 1950s, after all. The idea of a girl on a boys' team didn't fit neatly into anyone's worldview. Opposing players started playing rougher. One boy tried to spike her with his cleats sliding into first. Another pitcher brushed her back with a fastball high and tight. But Kay never flinched. Back in the locker room, the teasing turned cautious. Not mean, just unsure. Like the boys didn't know the rules anymore. Kay didn't blame them. She was rewriting them by the inning. Still, the question lingered in the air like dust under stadium lights. How long could this last? And who exactly was watching? The calls started coming in. Not from local parents or angry coaches, but from the Little League headquarters in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Word of the girl in disguise had traveled faster than a foul ball in a small town. And up there in the big offices, they weren't amused. Kay Johnston had become too visible. She wasn't just a kid sneaking onto a ball field anymore, she was a story. A headline. Proof that the no girls allowed rule wasn't airtight. Except there wasn't a rule. Not officially. At least not when Kay signed up. But that changed fast. In 1951, Little League formally announced that, going forward, no girls, under any circumstances, will be permitted to play. It was a clean, cold line in the sand. A wall built overnight. And just like that, Kay's quiet rebellion had triggered something much bigger, a ban. They didn't name it after her publicly. But everyone knew. The coaches whispered about it behind clipboards. The boys on Kay's team muttered about how unfair it was. Parents, meanwhile, were split, some angry at the rule, others at the girl who'd broken tradition. They called it the Tubby rule, not with ceremony but with a mixture of awe and warning. Like she was a legend and a cautionary tale rolled into one. Kay was pulled from the lineup. She didn't cry. She didn't throw a fit. She simply packed her glove, tipped her cap, and walked off the diamond one last time. The team missed her. Some of the boys said so out loud. Others just looked down at their cleats. It was the end of her season. But not the end of her story. Because Kay Johnston had already planted a seed. And history, like baseball, has a way of circling back around. Kay Johnston hung up her glove, but not her spirit. In Corning, she went back to being a regular teenager. She walked the same sidewalks, passed the same corner drugstore, and sat in the same classrooms with kids who now looked at her a little differently. Not with scorn, with something closer to respect. She didn't talk much about what had happened, but the town did. In whispers and wide-eyed retellings, the story of the girl who fooled everyone, played her heart out, and stood toe-to-toe with the boys grew into local legend. For kids who'd watched her from the dugout or the bleachers, Kay became more than just a teammate. She was proof that guts could beat rules, even if only for a moment. And quietly, in scattered corners of the country, other girls were watching, too. There were unverified tales, just whispers really, of girls named Ellie or Sarah or the McCarthy twins who tried the same trick. Some cut their hair short and joined sandlot teams under made-up names. Most were caught. A few made it through a game or two. But none were forgotten by the kids who saw them do it. They acted alone or with help from a sibling, maybe a parent who understood how much it meant. The locker rooms were chaotic, loud and messy. Perfect places to disappear if you moved quickly and didn't ask questions. And always, behind those stories, there was Kay. They might not have known her full name, but they knew someone had done it first. Someone had broken the line and stood her ground in the batter's box. She'd vanished from the field, but not from memory. And memories, like long fly balls, tend to hang in the air long after the crowd goes quiet. Decades passed. The gloves grew softer. The cleats changed shape. But the Tubby rule? That stayed. For nearly 25 years, girls were barred from Little League. Some tried to fight it. Most didn't even try. The rule felt like a wall too high to climb. Until 1974. That year, in Hoboken, New Jersey, a girl named Maria Pepe stood up. She was just 12. She loved baseball the same way Kay had, fiercely, quietly, with every part of her heart. Maria joined a local team. She pitched in 3 games. She played well. And just like Kay, she got caught. This time, though, things were different. People noticed. Reporters called. The National Organization for Women filed a lawsuit. The case grabbed headlines across the country. Girls, by now growing up in a world where change felt possible, started to rally. And in 1974, after all the noise and pressure, the Tubby rule was overturned. Little League Baseball finally opened its doors to girls. Maria Pepe became a symbol. Her name went into history books. But behind her, woven into every headline and TV segment, was a thread that reached all the way back to Corning, 1950, to a girl named Kay Johnston who had quietly, bravely walked onto a field where she wasn't supposed to be. Kay watched it all unfold from a distance. She never demanded credit, never chased the spotlight. But the truth was clear: Maria had finished what Kay had started. Tubby Johnston had cracked the foundation. Maria Pepe knocked the wall down, and the game would never be the same again. From that moment on, girls could step into the batter's box without hiding their name or their hair under a cap. The field was finally level. At least, on paper. For years, Kay Johnston's story was little more than a rumor. A whisper between innings. Something coaches might bring up to inspire a kid who didn't quite fit the mold. You know, there was this girl once. But time has a funny way of circling back. In the early 2000s, a reporter digging into the roots of women in Little League stumbled on a name buried in an old article: Tubby Johnston. It led to a phone call and then another. Eventually, someone picked up the line in California and said, "Yes, that's me. I'm Kay." She was in her 60s now. A mother. A grandmother. But still, in many ways, that same kid who'd loved the smell of the field and the pop of a ball hitting leather. When the story resurfaced, it spread like wildfire. Interviews followed. Articles. Local TV. Then national TV. The Baseball Hall of Fame reached out. She was invited to speak at Little League events. Even MLB players, especially women in the pro softball circuit, began calling her a trailblazer. But Kay never called herself that. She'd done it for the love of the game. Still, something had shifted. Now, girls who stepped onto Little League fields did so knowing that someone had gone first. Someone who risked everything just for the chance to stand at first base. They wore their hair in ponytails, not hidden under caps. Their names were printed proudly on their jerseys. And every now and then, someone would ask, "Who is Tubby Johnston?" And a coach would smile and say, "Sit down, kid. Let me tell you a story." Because legends aren't born from scorecards. They're born from guts. And sometimes from a well-worn glove, a sharp eye, and a secret kept just long enough to make history. Kay Johnston never asked for fame. In fact, she'd often shrug off her role in history, saying it was never about making waves, it was about playing baseball. About stepping up to the plate, about doing what she loved. But the world had a way of turning small moments into big ones, and Kay's quiet courage became a cornerstone in the movement for girls in sports. As the years passed, the very notion of a girl in Little League transformed from something unbelievable to something celebrated. Her story became more than just a piece of trivia. It became a symbol of how determination could break barriers. A reminder that sometimes the biggest change starts with a single pitch, a single step onto a field where you don't belong, yet make your mark anyway. In the decades following her public rediscovery, Kay attended dozens of Little League games, sharing her story with players, parents, and coaches. She spoke about her time on the field with warmth, but also with the deep understanding that the world had evolved in ways she could never have imagined. Every girl who stepped onto the field after her wasn't just following in her footsteps, they were running in their own direction, creating new paths to the mound and the diamond. But for Kay, the greatest joy was in seeing the next generation of girls, brave, bold, and ready to play, take the field without a second thought. No disguises. No rules keeping them out. Just a team. Just a game. In the end, Kay Johnston didn't just play baseball. She changed it. And as the world moved forward, the sound of a bat hitting a ball was a little sweeter for every girl who got to hear it. Because in the heart of the game, everyone deserved a place at the plate. And thanks to Kay, the world of Little League, like baseball itself, was forever changed.